Okay. Right, the topic of tonight is we're going to talk about Shvei Chamascha. Now, I told someone to speak about Shvei Chamascha. They said it's a little bit random. Why talk about Shvei Chamascha? There's so many other things to talk about. But really, think about it. If I'm going to say something now, some of you are going to want to say something by the Seder. But anything else up to Shvei Chamascha, you don't have any time to say anything because the kids have a Dvar Torah and it's late and you have to eat Afikayim for Chatzos. So the time to start darshaning is really by Shvei Chamascha. So there's really three things. We'll break it down to three things what happens by Shvei Chamascha. One is the actual saying Shvei Chamascha. And the second thing is we open the doors of our house. And the third thing is we pour the Kais Shel Elio. So let's first talk about the actual saying of Shvei Chamascha. So it seems like that the Shvei Chamascha was never really part of the original Haggadah in the times of the Gaonim. It wasn't put into the Haggadah. It was something that came about later. It was added into the times of the Rishonim. And you see in the Ran in the beginning of Arvi Pesachim, he explains why we say Shvei Chamascha now. What are we doing? So he says that with the Arba Kaisar Keneged, everyone knows Keneged Arba Kaisar is Keneged the Arba L'Shayne Shal Geula. But the Yerushalmi says another reason for Arba Kaisar it's Keneged. He says Keneged Arba Kaisar HaTar'ela She'asar Kadosh Baruch Hu L'Hashkes Ha'ovdei Kechavim. There are 4 cups of poisoning that Hashem is gonna in the future. L'Asad he's gonna give to the Goyim to punish them. L'Asad Lavai. So he says V'nireh Shalafikach Noagu Loimar B'Kais Revi. When we pour the Kais Revi before Halal, we say Shvei Chamascha Al Gayim Shalei Deucha, because now we're coming to complete the 4 Kaisos. So now, just like the 4 Kaisos they're connected, the 4 Kaisos Hashem is going to give to the Gayim. So now we pour the 4th Kais, we daven to Hashem Shvei Chamascha. Then now you should go and give the Gayim these 4 Kaisos of poisoning to them. And I saw that the Abu Dram also says the same type of pshat. He adds a little bit more. He says also the fact that now we're coming to, he says, we're coming to complete the mitzvah. So now, now you should do what you promised us, to pour those 4 kaisos over the Goyim and to punish them. So that's pshat why we would say Shvei Chamascha. Now, in the Bir Hagra, in Shulchan Aruch, so he has a different pshat why we say Shvei Chamascha. He says, because we're about to say Halal, we're saying Leilanu. The capital Leilanu, the Gemara in Pesachim, Daf Kuf Yud Ches says, that's referring to Chavli Mashiach, Mechamas Goygu Magayg, and therefore, before we're going to say Leilanu, which the Gemara is talking about Mechamas Goygu Magayg, so we say before that Shvei Chamascha El Agayim, to basically we're explaining what Leilanu is about. The first part of in the beginning of the Seder, the first part of Hal, that's more about the Avar, about Yetzias Mitzrayim. But now we're coming to talk about the Asid, about the Chamas Goygu Magayg. So it's like an introductory Shvei Chamascha to explain that that's what Leilanu is going to be about punishing the Goyim, the Chamas Goygu Magayg. So I found interesting in Rashi in Sefer HaPardes, he writes a lashon. Also, he says that we do Shvei Chamascha already in his time, but his lashon is in Siman Kuf Lamed Gimel. It says U'maiskin Kaiser V v'Oimrim Alav Halal Shehu Shvei Chamascha Adi Halalucha. So it sounds like from his lashon that Shvei Chamascha is actually like part of the Halal, which is a pellet. It's not part of the Halal, but maybe you could say that Rashi al pi the Gain, that the reason why we're saying Shvei Chamascha, it's like an introductory to explain what Leilanu is about. So because it's like a hakdama to the Leilanu, that could be pshat why it's in maybe you can answer Rashi's lashon. It's v'oimrim lav halal shu Shvei Chamascha, because it's kind of part of the halal. Fine. So that's the actual saying of the Shvei Chamascha. Now another reason why we say there's an interesting thing to know also. The Chidah says of pshat why we say Shvei Chamascha. He says that, I know he knows this, but you lead up to the Chidah. In Mitzrayim made out of kishuf, they made these dogs that would scare anyone that would try to leave Mitzrayim. And so they used kishav for that, and they also used kishav to also they made a litzanis out of Moshe and Aaron, that when they did the makas they were just using kishav. So now what we're doing is when we say shvay chamascha, the word shvaych is the same ICS of kishav. So they were tightening kishav and they were using kishav. So now we're turning it back on them and using that kishav and turning it into shvay chamascha, that now you're going to be punished. That's what the Chidah says. And the Ramah brings in a different pshat why we say shvei chamascha. He says in Siman Tav Pei, he says v'yesh oimrim sheyesh loyma shvei chamascha koydem lelanu, and he says v'leftayach hapas, we open up the door kidei liskar shulel shimurim, to remind ourselves that it's lel shimurim, it's special protection tonight, and we open the door that we're not afraid. U'b'schus amunah zu, and the schus of this amunah that we believe in lel shimurim and we're not afraid, Yavai Mashiach should come v'yishpai chamas yal akum, and he should pour his anger over the Gayim. V'chein Minhagim. So the Ramah is saying that the reason why we say Shvei Chamascha is because we're opening the door to show us lel shimurim, and now we have a schus of our amunah that we believe in lel shimurim, that we believe that Mashiach is going to come through that amunah, and therefore we daven Shvei Chamascha al Gayim. Now, there's a Shaila, Beis Halevi Al-Teri asks, what's Taka Pshat, if we're coming to remember that it's Lel Shimurim, why Dafka at this point of the night, during the Seder, are we showing that it's Lel Shimurim? Chayra, he says we should have done it when we said Kol Dich V'N Yesev Yechol, the beginning of the Seder, we should have opened the door to show that it's Lel Shimurim. So Beis Halevi says, Gavaldik Teretz, he says we're trying to be meramiz a dvar chachma, because the Gemara says that, or has a kasha, that we have arba kaisos, and the Gemara says that when you do arba kaisos, so it could be a sakana, because the Gemara says there's a problem of making zugas. You do pairs of two, so we have 2 and 2, 4 kaisos. So the Gemara says that's an issue of sakana, and the Gemara asks, Heichim v'sakin rabbanim also also the sakana. How can the rabbanim v'sakin something that's going to come to a sakana? And one of the answers of the Gemara is that it's not an issue of sakana, because tonight is Lel Shimurim, and the Gemara says Lel Shimurim ubamin hamazikin, and there's a special protection from the mazikin, and we're not chayshish for any hezek that would come from the zugais. So says the Beis Halevi, since now we're pouring the 4th kais, so now the people are sitting there can ask a kasha, what we're doing the 4th kais, now we have an issue of zugais and sakana. So now we open the door, and we show no, it's Lel Shimurim, and now we don't have a problem. And I saw also the Chasam Sefer, and there's a guy on Shulchan Aruch, he also says the same teretz. I wanted to offer perhaps a different pshat why we open the door then. You can say like this, that Rashi in Parshas Bay by Lel Shimurim, Rashi says on the pasuk Lel Shimurim, Rashi says Shimurim l'chol b'nei Yisrael d'reisa mishum urbav v'namazikin ki'inyan shenamar v'layitin hamashkas. Like it says in the pasuk earlier that Hashem is not gonna let the mashkas, the malach maves, come into your house when you put the dam on the doorpost. And the pasuk says earlier v'lakachtam u'gudas eza v'tavaltam b'dam asher b'sav v'gata l'mashkayif Hashem v'zuzim v'nadam asher b'sav. And then it says Hashem's going to Avar Hashem Lingayf es Mitzrayim. He's going to go do Makas B'Cheiros. V'roas Adam L'Mashkayf, and it says V'layitin Hamashkas Lavi El B'Teichem Lingayf, and he's not going to let the Malach Mavos come in. So in Mitzrayim, when was this that it became Lel Shimurim that Hashem didn't let the Malach Mavos come in? That was during Makas B'Cheiros, when Hashem was doing Makas B'Cheiros, and he saw the dam and he was killing other Mitzrayim. He didn't let the Malachos come into our houses. So when was that time? Makas B'Cheres was when? Was by Chatzos, right? So maybe we could say like this. Maybe make a cheshbon. It's Gepaskin that you have to eat Afikaimin before Chatzos, right? So I'm assuming Roiv Klal Yisrael, by the time that they eat the Afikaimin, it's basically right before Chatzos. They don't do it. It takes a while. So you eat the Afikayim right before Chatzos, then you bench. Now we're holding Mamish ke Chatzos halayla. So now is the time Mamish when it became established that it was Lel Shimurim, when it was Makas B'Cheres and Hashem didn't let the Malachos come into our houses. So now we go and open the door, because that was Mamish the time that it became Nikr, that it was Lel Shimurim. Okay, now there's another pshat why we open the doors. There's the Chak Yaakov, the Shulchan Aruch brings down from the Sefer HaManig a very interesting pshat, amazing pshat. He says that we open the doors by night because since there's another pshat on Lol Shimur. Because Lol Shimur doesn't have to mean that it's special protection of Shimur. It means that it's the night that Hashem is waiting and anticipating the Geula. He sings the Chazal from Rosh Hashanah. It says, "Leil HaMishumar Misheshes Yemei Bereishis." From already Sheshes Yemei Bereishis, it was a night set aside that Hashem is going to bring the Geula. It's a night of Geula. So now it's a night of Geula. So we believe that the Geula is going to come. So we open the doors. Why? Why we open the doors? Because in case the Geula is coming, Eliyahu Navi is going to come and he's going to be mevaser the Geula that Mashiach is coming tomorrow. So in case Eliyahu Navi is coming outside, we want to run out to greet him. So we want to run out to greet him. We want to do it as quickly as possible. So we leave the door open by night so that in case he's coming, we could run out. We could gain those few seconds to be makabel upon him. He says, "V'myavi Eliyahu yimtza pesach pesul v'neitzel l'krasi mehera v'anu ma'aminim," and we believe in this. And he says, "V'yesh b'amunah zu schar gadol." There's in this amunah there's tremendous schar in believing that Eliyahu Navi might come outside, and we want to greet him. And we actually find in Rashi in Eruvin it says such a thing, but the Gemara says that there's Eliyahu Navi doesn't come on Erev Shabbos. The Gemara says, "Chmutach lahen Yisrael she'ein Eliyahu bal loy ba'arvei Shabbos loy ba'arvei yom tov mipnei Teirach." Because of Tircha. Rashi says, "Mipnei Teirach shemanichin tzarchi Shabbos." They're gonna leave over they're not gonna do their tzarchi Shabbos, but holchen lahakbel panim. They're gonna go to Mekabel Panim. You see, there's such a thing that when Eliyahu Navi comes, it's gonna be a big thing that we want to be Mekabel Panim. So that's why we open the door so that we should do it quickly.
You come on Yom Tov?
What?
You might come on Yom Tov?
Yeah, it's a different shayla, a different shir. Also, I saw an amazing pshat brought in the Sefer Minhagim. This pshat is in the Sefer Menachem Tzion from Menachem Mendel of Rimenov. My grandmother was born in Rimenov. Her family was Sadi Ger. So he has an amazing pshat. He says that this minna goes back already to the times of Yaakov Avinu. He says in the pasuk in Toldos, when Yaakov was getting the brachas, it says in the pasuk, when he was, it says, "Vayhi ach yatsa Yaakov me'es pnei Yitzchak Avav," when Yaakov was leaving from Yitzchak, from getting the brachas, the Esau achav b'mitzay, the Esau was coming in the house. So the Medrash says, ach yatsa Yaakov, the Medrash says that he stood. Why is yatsa Yaakov? Says he's going out, and then he stood behind the door. He hid behind the door, and then he went out. So Rav Menachem Mendel says that night the Pirkei D'Rabbi says that it was Lel Pesach, that the Shnei Gedei Izim was Karm Pesach, Karm Chagiga. So why was he going out in the first place? He was going out because he was doing the minhag of opening the door, because Lel Shimurim B'Amin Amazikin. But when he was opening the door, he saw Esau. Esau was down the block, so then he quickly hid behind the door. Right, I want to say another pshat, b'chlal, why we open the door on Lel Pesach when we say Shvei Chamascha. So Shvei Chamascha is really, it's a pasuk in Tehillim, Kapitel Ayin Tes. If you look in Kapitel Ayin Tes, a few psukim later, it says in the pasuk, we say every Shabbos, we say in Tachanam and Thursday, we say in the pasuk, it says Lama Yemru Hagayim Aye Elikayim. We say to Hashem, why should the Goyim say where is their God? Yivada b'Goyim leineinu, it should be known to the Goyim in front of our eyes, Nikmas dam avadecha hashafach, the revenge of your servant's blood that was spilled. So we're basically asking Hashem, why should the Goyim be able to say they are able to persecute us and say, where is Hashem your God? And we ask Hashem that you should take nekama on them. But we say it should be leinenu. So the Brisker Rav in his Sefer Al Torah on Tehillim, he asks why do we ask that it should be leinenu dafka? The point is that we want that Hashem should take the kama on the goyim. Why does it have to be dafka leinin in front of our eyes? So the Brisker Rav says, he says that our ikar tain is not that we want that the goyim should also get killed, just take revenge on the goyim. Our ikar tain is because when the goyim are persecuting us, they say aye ele. They say aye ele kayim. Where is their God? And there's a chil Hashem. That's what we're worried. We're worried at the chil Hashem. So we're worried about the chil Hashem. We ask Hashem, take revenge on them, but don't just stop take revenge. Take revenge in a way that it will be a kiddush Hashem. Now the Gemara in Sanhedrin says kiddush Hashem is dafka b'fnei Yisrael. It says in the positive, "Kedashti b'seich b'nei Yisrael b'fnei Asara." That's when you have a kiddush Hashem. And he says even by a ben noach, if he would be mitzvah on to give up his life, it would only be b'fnei Asara. So therefore, says the Brisker Rav, that's why we say le'inenu, that the nekama should be le'inenu, because now instead of being a chil Hashem, taking the kama in a way that will be le'inenu, and it will be a kiddush Hashem to that. So according to this, perhaps we could say in the same capital as the pasuk shvei chamascha. So when we say shvei chamascha al goyim asher lo yiduucha, we're also tithing the same thing, that the goyim that don't know you, there's a chil Hashem, you should take out your anger on them. But we want it to be that there's a kiddush Hashem. So that's why when we say shvei chamascha, we open the doors to give ourselves a view to the outside, that we should be able to see the goyim, and now will be a kiyum of the nekama that should be le'inenu, that it should be a kiddush Hashem. And that's why we open the doors. Okay, now we'll talk about Kaisha Aliyo. Try to finish. So the Chayk Yaakov brings the earliest makar seems for to have Kaisha Aliyo. The Chayk Yaakov brings in the Sefer Pesach Me'uvin, and he says that on the safe that we said before in the Sefer Hamanik that we open the doors we want to greet Eliyahu. He says now we're not noyeg like that because the Shia Chazeka, and he said we're noyeg Odinas Elu to be meizik Kais Acher Yosem Mesubim Kainos to Kais Eliyahu Navi. We call it the Kais Eliyahu Navi. So the Mishabura on this says why we call it Kais Eliyahu. Mishabura says v'noyegin be'elam Odinas Limzek Kais Acher Yosem Mesubim Kainos to Kais Eliyahu. Says the Mishabura. Lirmais to Mirav Sha'anu Mamina, we believe Kashem Shagalana Hashem Yisbarach Mitzrayim, just like Hashem redeemed us from Mitzrayim, Hu Yagalina Oid, Vishlach Lanu Levasreinu. So too he should redeem us again and send Eliyahu Navi to be Mavasar the Besura Taiva. So there's another pshat why we call it Kaish Eliyahu. B'shem, they say B'shem the Gra, that really the Gemara in Psachim, there's a different girsa that seems to say that we have a Kais Chamishi, and there's a whole shaila if there's such a girsa like that. There's a girsa in the Rif like that. So therefore, when we're pour the fourth Kais, we pour an extra Kais Chamishi but we don't drink it because we have a suffix, and that's why we call it Kais Eliyahu, because Eliyahu Navi is going to come and he's going to be paishet the suffix, just like he's paishet all the other sveikas. Now the Ravid on the Rif, he says a pshat that the Kais Chamishi, just like we said, it's Keneged Arba L'Shayne Shal Geula. He says there's another Lashon Geula. The fifth Lashon Geula is V'Havesi. It says V'Havesi Ala Aretz. Why weren't they masakin it till now? Because till now we didn't come to Eretz Yisrael b'shleimus. We went back to Galus. It's only going to be totally complete when by the Geula Ha'asida. So for the V'Havesi, we pour the Kais Chamishi, and that's why it's called Kais Eliyahu, because it's meramis of the Geula to the Geula Shlema. Now, when I was doing this, I was wondering do we have any makar if Eliyahu Navi actually comes to the Seder when we do Shvei Chamascha. So I found very interesting in the Shaz Tshuva Shtei Halechem, in the he's asked from the Pnei Yeshua. And there's the last tshuva in the Sefer, the Shayl actually asks him that where does this whole thing come from? It doesn't make any sense, there's no makar for it. And he makes a litanis out of it. He says it's Kedner Kedavar Zar, Ein Lesharish Va'ana, Man Dachar Shmeid who says there's Eliyahu Navi about Lo Pesach, and it says Ein El Kenichush Nashim Vehavleim. So Shtei Alechem goes stark against him, and he says Havizar B'dvarecha. Don't make fun of Minhagim Sheisod. The Kein Torah it's Kein Torah, and he basically explains that We know the Pirkei Lezer says that by a Mila, Eliyahu Navi comes. Eliyahu Malach Habris, he comes to, that's clear in Pirkei Lezer. He says the mitzvah of Mila and Pesach are really intertwined, because by Pesach you can't eat the Karm Pesach if you don't have a Mila. And as Chazal say, "Va'avar Allah misveises b'damayich." What's the two dam b'damayich? Dam Mila v'dam Pesach. So he says, just like Eliyahu Navi comes and is made that we do Mila, so too the dam Pesach, which is intertwined with mitzvahs Mila. Vade Eliyahu Navi comes to everybody's house and he's made that we're makayim all the mitzvahs of Pesach. And his lashon is, he says, Vade lahaget shvachan shel Yisrael lahaskir lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheim kayimu shekiblu b'mitzvahs Pesach atluya b'Mila. Ein kan safek. There's no safek ki boy yavei birchas Eliyahu zal b'chol bat Yisrael lirois kiyim ha-mitzvah achas u'shtayim Pesach u'Mil. He sees the mitzvahs that we do, and v'yalu l'Hashem, he goes back up to Shemayim lehelet ba'ad klal u'prat Yisrael, and he's a meilat for klal Yisrael l'mar l'hachash gulasam, to bring the geula speedily, u'pidin nafshem begeula achreina. So he says that Taka Eliyahu Navi does come. Just and quickly, my father always tell me that when by his seder, his father, my grandfather, every Leil Seder by Shvei Chamascha, he would go downstairs to open the door, and he would not let anyone come with him, and he would stand there for a while, and my father would always ask him what he was doing. He didn't tell him, and he always would be there for a while, never let anyone come with him, and he actually has a story when he was in Siberia that he had Gil Eliyahu, but that's for a different time. Shkoyach.